Howdy folks, so here we are doing a screen record, and we did at least get the cursor now to show up in the proper place. This should be the corner of 2000 and 1600. So instead of having to watch crosshairs, you get to see my little cursor. So the two setups we're comparing are alike in the fact that they're both a GT50 turbine with a GT47 compressor of 75 millimeter, and they both have a 4-inch HX82 with a G trim and a 48 centimeter exhaust or turbine housing. The differences in the two are this one down here, the red line, is a 1.08 turbine housing on the GT50 turbine, whereas this one up here is a 1.26. So I have a little flag that has 1.26 engine torque, 2198 foot-pounds at 1599, but for some reason that doesn't show up on the screen record, and we'll eventually get all this straight. So, but the one thing we can do is I can click and I can get the maximums. So there's the maximum torque, 2166 at 1482. And then the maximum torque for this one is 2,209 at 1491. So that's the 1.26 divided, and this is the 1.08 open. That's the torque. Now, these torque levels would probably go up if we dragged it down. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Let's zoom in on the horsepower. Have a peek at that. So our 1.26 divided made a peak power of 762 horsepower at 2,052. And our 1.08 open made 741 at 2,058. So there's your power. So the 1.08 made a little bit less power than the 1.26, but not a huge difference. The differences are going to come when we look at some of the other things. Let's go to temperatures. So let's auto scale it. There. So here's compressor discharge temperatures. The 1.08 compressor discharge temperature was 330 degrees peak. The 1.26 was 362 degrees peak. I was making more boost. That's just it. So the now let's go up to this is the temps in the exhaust manifold. We peaked out at 1190 at 1403 for the 1.08, and the 1.26 divided peaked out at 1206 at 1401. So it was a little bit warmer all the way across. The maroon line is the 1.26 divided. It might be a 1.23. I can't remember. All right, so that's pretty close. It made a little more heat, but that's to be expected. It made 20 more horsepower. So let's pull over here and have a look at some of the pressures. Alrighty, so this is the part where I really liked the difference. So there we go. So the 1.08 turbine housing back pressure, drive pressure peaked at 49.46. And switching to the 1.26, it dropped 6 pounds of back pressure, which I really like. The other thing that I liked, actually, you know what? So this is always, I look at total back pressure, I look at back pressure versus boost pressure. So the 108 made 49.46, and it was making 39.4 at the same. So it's at 10 pounds more back pressure than boost. The 1.26 was 43.7, and then 38.18. So it was less than 10 pounds. It was, let's see, 8 and 3, 38 to 43, 5 pounds. I like that. I like 5 pounds more than, but you're never really running up here at 2100 anyway. But what I like is I like keeping track of the crossover point. And you know, it's interesting. So here is 38 pounds of boost, 39 pounds of drive pressure with a 1.08 turbine housing, and it equals out right here at 1773. And I actually thought that the, let's see, let's go back to, yeah, see, looky here. So the 126 drive pressure and boost, they equal out at approximately 1843 RPM. I like the crossover point being higher in the RPM, because basically if you're working this truck, you're going to spend your whole working RPM range is going to have drive pressure well below boost pressure. 33.66 PSI, 27.38 drive pressure. And the 108, that's the red and the blue, that also has, you know, it does have lower, but it crosses over at a higher, or I'm sorry, at a lower RPM. It's 1776 crossover versus a 1841 crossover. I don't know. I like that better. Another thing I like better about the larger 1.26 divided is it's not working the low pressure turbo as hard, which really doesn't matter because it's not this power level. So here's your max boost is 23 pounds for the low pressure turbo. That's with the 1.26 divided. Max pressure is 25.22 at 2000. It's not, talking 3 pounds. That ain't much. So anyway, there's what that looks like. Let's move over to temperatures, see what we have with that. And here's things I click on. Unfortunately, you can't see what's popped up here, but it's called auto scale. So when I click that, you get this, and then I click on another thing called synchronize Y1 and Y2. What that does is if you have 1100 for your compressor discharge temperature, you would have 1100 for your it makes the chart all the same, so you don't have a crisscross of values. I'm actually going to go back and take off select visible graphs. I really don't care what compressor discharge is right now. We might look at it, but let me take it off of here, because then that changes the whole, the auto scale, synchronize 1 and 2. That changes everything. So this is temperature inside the exhaust manifold. The 1.26, we're at 1157 right here, and then all the way up here at 14, we're at 1206. The 1.08 peaks out at 1190. Starts off at the same. They both start about the same. Interesting enough that the 1.08 does run cooler, except for this little blip right here, which I'm not sure what that's all about. But it runs cooler. So while the back pressure is higher, I should say the back pressure crossover point is higher, the temperature is actually lower. So I like the 1.26 divided, but I have to tell you, the 108 has pretty good numbers. All right, so let's click out of this. Let's look at compressor outlet temperature. All right, come on now. That's a weird thing. Compressor discharge temperature is there. Exhaust manifold. or pre-turbo EGT. You'll take that off. All right, so now, so this is, all right, so up here is our 1.26. Our peak temperature was 362 degrees Fahrenheit at 1856. The 1.08 peaked out at 330. That's really interesting because that's a lot lower. This is a little bit misleading because of the power differences. 762 versus 741. And I guess I could go down here and try and find, let me look at here a second. Let me reach down here and see if I can find a 126 that made lower horsepower. So we could change from this one to this one, 751. No, you know what I'm going to do? Instead of doing that, I'm going to reach down here and I'm going to find a 108. Nope, I don't have it. So for this test, I was not able to get a comparable. The 1.26 just flat out made more power, and with more power came more heat. Let me reach down here. So that one was 751. That's the lowest power that the 1.26 actually made. Oh, wait a minute. Here's 751. We'll use that one. We'll use 751, and then we'll see if we can find a 1.08 that made... There's one that made 746. All right, now let's take that away. All right, now let's look at these two then. They're a little closer in power. So let me pull this back down. Look at the power. Still. All right, so 2,197 and then 2,166. So within 30 foot-pounds of torque. And then the horsepower, it's even closer. Let me get rid of the torque. Get rid of the torque, then the horsepower will scale a little easier. So 751 for the 1.26 and 746. So that's pretty close. So we're talking some places it was within. Of course, you can't really count a little wobble like that. It's always better to go to a straight section here. So 659 for the 1.08, 665. So I'm talking 6 horsepower. That's pretty close. It's closer than the other two I was comparing. Now let's go to compressor discharge temperature. So see, we're looking at 354 versus 315. So it's a little warmer. Go back up here. All right, now you can look at them both together if you want to kind of even it out. So you're 1.26 divided, a little more power, a little more heat. Let me go ahead and let's look at the pressures. No, we'll stay here and we'll check out. Let me look at exhaust manifold temp. You can't see I'm on a drop-down menu, and I still haven't figured out how to get the drop-down menu to show up on the screen record, but we'll get there eventually. So there's pre-turbo EGT, and then we're going to go ahead and get rid of compressor discharge temperature. All right, now let's look at these guys. Auto scale. So this is in the manifold now. So wait a minute, why is that? Okay, so this is the 1.08, which is peaked out at 1167. Now it looks like this run of the, I went ahead and dragged it on down to 1200. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right one here. So this is called No Name 2. Let me find No Name 2 up here. no name 2. Okay, yeah, no name 2 is definitely. Wait a minute. I think I've been doing this all wrong because I think I've been ascribing one value to. So this is no name 8. So this would be the 1.26. This is no name 2. All right, let me double check up here and make sure I didn't make that same mistake. Okay, so no name 8, yeah. So no name 8 was the higher power. I got that part right. So no name 8, which is the 1.26 divided, made more power. However, down here at the bottom, no name 8 ran cooler. This is what I wanted to show. This is more consistent with what I saw on all these runs here. The 1.26 did run cooler. This is the 1.08. And so yeah, so a little hotter. 1172, 1168, it bumped up to 1191, and of course here's where it crosses the 1200 line. The 1.26 really never gets, I don't know that it's ever going to cross 1200 except for maybe way up here. Anyway, all right, there's that. Let's look at pressures now. All right, auto scale. Synchronize 1 and 2. Okay, so here we go. This is no name 2, which is the 1.08 housing. Definitely records the highest drive pressure. 49.53 drive pressure, and it has 40.28. So here again, still almost 10 pounds difference. The crossover point is closer on this. That's interesting. So they cross over right at about 1800. I mean, the 1.26 does cross over higher, which is a good thing, but it's not crazy higher. So the 1.26 divided made 42, almost 43 pounds of back pressure to 37 pounds. It's 5 pounds again, and it crosses over, 30 RPM higher. So that's good. So anyway, you kind of have a choice. You can take a little more. No, actually, you don't have a choice. I just think all in all, the divided 1.26 performed better. So there you have it. It's interesting. The low pressure boost was pretty much the same on both of those. So. Alrighty, well, I'm going to close this video out. There's going to be more. I'm going to eventually put a GT55 turbine in it, which is larger yet. And I have I think I have a 1.03 or a 1.13, I'm not sure. I have a 113, I have a 112, I have a 118. So I have a 113 divided, or 1.03, I can't remember. I have a 1.18 divided, and then I have a 1.12 open. Not that I'm going to try all these, but probably the 118 divided is going to be the go-to, because the 118 divided with the larger GT55 turbine is going to flow a whole lot more than the 1.26 divided GT50 turbine. So stay tuned. We'll get that out eventually, maybe a couple weeks. So, all right, well, hopefully it was a little better having the cursor where it actually is, and then eventually we'll figure out how to get the little pop-up window, because every time I roll across the line, I get the boost pressure and RPMs and the name of the run. None of that shows up on the screen record. So, all right, we're going to stop and keep this just about the 20-minute mark. So I'm hitting stop now.